Well, indeed we are here. Welcome to the Hamityville Horror. Thank you for visiting. I'm Clint.
I'm Don.
And we are joined here with a very special guest. We got
Legendary.
together today.
Legendary.
Legendary. That is the correct word to use. Yeah. We are joined with the very talented and the lovely Brooke Bundy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Happy to be here with you guys.
Oh, we're happy to have you.
So excited that you made it. This is pretty surreal. I mean, as you probably know, we talked to your daughter very recently, and she was lovely to have on the show, and just a blast to talk to. And we are beyond excited to get the opportunity to talk to you. And I thought I'd just roll right into it with just making a statement, really, that you've had a very long, successful acting career. And when I look at your credits, it looks like you got about, I mean, it's not, but it looks like 1,000 TV credits that go back to like the 1960s, and it's like that's in probably I'd say some of the most recognizable shows that have ever been on the air. I mean, even if it was only like 1 or 2 episodes, I mean, you've worked in just about everything. And that's fantastic. I don't think I can say that about anybody we've ever spoken to.
Not to that extent.
Yeah. It seemed like you did TV for a long time, but you also did movies occasionally, and then it seemed you were doing more movies after a while. I get the impression from some actors that they have a preference for one or the other. Did you ever have a preference?
My preference, that's such a great question. My preference would be movies over television, but my biggest preference would be plays, because then you have the full arc. You do the beginning, the middle, and the end in front of a live audience. It's terrifying. And that's what makes it so wonderful, because I did a one-woman show. There's no one to blame. There's no one you can't say, she didn't give me the right line. You're just out there on stage by yourself.
That is terrifying, no doubt.
Sink or swim.
Horrible, but it's so wonderful. In this particular case, I was playing the second lady, and it's called Second Lady. It's a wonderful play. But what happens is the character begins to dissolve through as she goes on with her little story. And then I say to the audience, I got to take my shoes off and sit. And one woman said, "Oh, honey, take those shoes off." So from the audience, and then we actually had a dialogue. It was what every actor dreams of. You actually have a dialogue with the audience. I mean, it was just incredible. And they would, like really encourage me. Come on, you can do it. I said, I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. You can do it, fight. And I'm like having this exchange. So that kind of thing is just really, really thrilling.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that is amazing. We've spoken to other people who come from the theater world, and they've basically gone into films, and that was their love too. But the reason why they left theater was because, the way they explained it was, unless you were at the theater when the performance happened, you didn't get to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right.
they moved to film because they're like, well, this is recorded, and that means many people can enjoy it, at any time after it's done.
Well, I think I thought about something. I think it was about a year ago this occurred to me, is when I do conventions, or when any of us do conventions, that is an opportunity to close the circle. Because once you do the film or the television show or whatever, you're done, you're out of there. And yes, more people can see it. But when you meet the people who've seen it and it maybe altered their life, or it did something, you took them to a different place that they didn't realize existed. So you are actually completing a circle. So we do conventions because of the fans. It's meeting them and having exchanges and talk about their memories connected with whatever we did. So it's really cool.
That sounds like a really rewarding experience when you put it like that.
It's the best. It's absolutely the best. I love doing conventions. I'm doing one in June in Pasadena. I can hardly wait.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that is. It means a lot to hear, somebody actually say, they do it for the fans. Like it's and I'm not saying nobody, anybody that does conventions doesn't do it for the fans, but you like to hear it every once in a while. Like I love my fans. I love doing it for fans. And we're kind of just starting off with this, and going to conventions, and we actually get to see, people that we've enjoyed for years and years. And now we're starting to see people that recognize us. And it's kind of like,
wow,
what are we doing? What did we do?
Yeah, that's very weird.
So that's very cool.
It is cool. So yeah, I mean, again, your career has spanned, 60 years, going back to, Lassie and everything like that. And I noticed that you have, obviously, and this is something that I talked to Clint about at one point, is that a couple people that we've talked to have started off on soap operas. Catherine Mary Stewart was on Days of Our Lives for a little bit, and I think you were on Days of Our Lives. We were on Young and the Restless, or
no, General Hospital.
General Hospital. So, you've pretty much done it all. I mean, I don't think there's anything you haven't done, is there? As far as like a genre?
No, I don't think so. I think, and I did commercials. I was the commercial queen for a while. I did Days of Our Lives and General Hospital sort of like more toward the end of my career, as opposed to many people starting out with it. So it was an interesting way of acting and pressure.
Yeah.
But people say, how do you memorize all those lines? So here's the trick. Here's the secret. Okay. So I tell you about the car accident that my husband was in. Oh, it was terrible. He went off the road. I think he's paralyzed, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I tell you on Monday. Tuesday, I tell my neighbor, oh my God, it was terrible. He ran off the road. I think he's paralyzed. So Wednesday, oh my God. So I just keep repeating. So I just memorize it once and I just string it out over the week.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's actually a really good freaking idea. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as simplistic as that, but you get the general gist.
Oh, absolutely.
You really try never to use the teleprompter. Yeah. You only use them with telephone calls because you're looking straight into the camera. But if you're talking to a friend and you suddenly da 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 da, so it's like no.
Well, they did give me.
It's not fair to the other actor either, because they're betting on your eye contact.
Yeah. You did give me a funny thought though, when you said you're telling friends and so forth, that I just had this image of, an actor going into public and basically performing their scene to whoever they encountered in the world, and they don't even know they're doing a scene. They're like, what's happening here?
You just like stop them dead in the street and be like, what are you talking about? I don't know you. What are you doing? But yeah, I mean, it's great just to see somebody that's been doing this for so long and still, you're just so high spirited with it. Like it's great. If you could get back into movies, would you want to do it again? Would you want to? No, you're done.
Yeah, I'm done. I mean, you don't even have to finish the sentence. No, I did
done.
It.
Game over.
Yeah. No, there is a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure. And it's just something I left. I don't want to say on a high note, but I left when I was okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to take really tiny parts or extra work or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with either of those things.
Not at all.
But it's just like I left on doing guest star roles.
And I would, and I kind of like, analogy I use is like, before, like a quarterback goes to a Super Bowl, doesn't win one, but leaves before they get, catastrophically injured, so that's kind of how I think about it like that. It's like, you left when the getting was good, and, that's your choice. And that's, you went out the way you want it to go out. Let's put it that way. Most people don't get that.
I'll make one exception. If Nightmare on Elm Street 8 or whatever number they're on wants me back to play Elaine, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully somebody out there is going to hear this and make that happen. I would love to see that.
It would be really fun. I love that cast.
Absolutely. So how do you feel about the whole indie horror scene? Have you follow it at all? Do you just into that whole indie part of it, not interested in it? Or
not really? No, I'm not. I mean, in fact, I haven't seen most of the movies that are being nominated for SAG awards and stuff. I've got all the links, but I just haven't done it. I'm not an awards person. It's like, what's better, steak or lobster, vanilla or chocolate? It's personal. West Side won last year, didn't it?
I think so, yeah.
That was a great movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The performances were wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely
definitely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think I actually saw it twice. But the thing that was so cool was when it first came out, I was in New York. I was a kid, and when I have to remind me about the white dress, the Puerto Rican gang was really bad guys, because Puerto Ricans at that time in New York were not considered good guys at all. So there was a lot of backlash. It was really bad what was going on, a lot of racism. But in this movie, the Puerto Rican gang, they were the lovers. The white guys were territorial. So it was just really interesting to see that that juxtaposition. And it made me really happy too, because it was really, it was just a wonderful movie. But the white dress. So I'm watching the making of West Side Story on TV. They had like some little thing, whatever it was. And I'm watching Natalie Wood. And she's got this white dress on with a red ribbon around her waist. And I thought, wow, I know that dress. How do I know that dress? So I remembered before I'd started acting, I modeled it at the Academy Awards.
What?
I was Natalie's size, so they didn't have to do an Hemet or anything like that. So I wore it at the Academy Awards with my then sister-in-law Anne Helm, and she wore Anita Ekberg's dress. We both won Academy Awards for our dresses, and the Irene Shearer came out and accepted her award. I can't remember who designed Anita Ekberg's dress, but we were standing on stage high-fiving each other. It's like, so I kept looking at that dress. I know that. How do I know that dress?
It's a small world right there.
Yeah, crazy.
That is nuts.
So you mentioned modeling that dress, and that's basically how you started. Your career was in modeling, was it not?
Yeah, I was. My father was an artist, and I modeled for him when I was a baby. And then as I got a little bit older, continued modeling for him, and then a wonderful photographer named Jerry Plusser, who was a Vogue photographer, rang the wrong bell, but actually it was the right bell. And he was looking for his friend who lived next door. And I answered the door, and we talked, and he looked at me and he asked me if I modeled. And I said, no, I was 13. I said, no. He said, I want you to come to my studio and take some pictures. Of course, you can't do that today. If a photographer says to a 13-year-old girl.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But off I tootled, and he took pictures, and I got an agent. And then I went on to the Ford agency, and that's when models could be short.
Okay.
So I'm 5'3". But then a wonderful model named Dolores Hawkins came along, and she was 5'7". We all went, 5'7".
Wow.
Now they're 6'3".
Yeah,
like
right.
Center for the Lakers. They're big girls, so and gorgeous, all legs.
Yeah. So you did you kind of stumble into acting? I mean,
absolutely.
that transition from modeling to acting. I mean, I got the impression that you took a trip to California and somehow ended up getting into acting, but maybe that's not the way it played out.
No, actually, Christopher Walken and I were in school together at the Professional Children's School in New York, and it was coming on to summer, and we were friends. And he said, "Hey, you know, one of the girls in my cast is leaving." He was in a play called JB, which was a Tony Award-winning play with Christopher Plummer and Raymond Massey. I mean, just like a cast that was like, oh my God. He said, "Why don't you want to come over and just read for it?" And I went, "Sure." It's a slow summer. I'd done some commercials, I modeled. So I remember walking on stage at the Amphitheater. I think that's 56th and 6th. Anyway, it's a beautiful theater. And walking on stage, and there was no one in the audience except for one person, and that was Elia Kazan, the great Elia Kazan. And everyone was calling him Gadge. I didn't know it was Elia Kazan, so I called him Mr. Gadge, being respectful. He thought that was hilarious. So I'm standing on the stage. I was 15. That's right, I was 15. And he said, "Can you dance?" And I said, "Yeah." And I did the twist. And he said, "Can you sing?" I said, "Yeah." I can't sing, but I had to sing Happy Birthday with the rest of the kids who played my brothers and sisters. So I could easily be disguised in singing there. So he said, "Okay," he said, "You get the part." And I thought, wow, that's showbiz is a snap.
Yeah,
so
that was easy.
That was easy. So I rehearsed, and I know the first night, everybody in the cast was so worried about me. They all gathered around the curtains, and off stage, and they were just like, "Oh God, is she going to blow it? Is she going?" And I was fine. I came backstage and I went, "Why is everybody here?" And they said, "Oh no reason, no reason." But they knew that I had never done anything, so I didn't have stage fright. I don't think I knew enough to have stage fright.
Right.
So I stayed with JB for a long time.
Well, that's a good scenario to have.
Absolutely.
Don't know enough to have stage fright.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know enough to be scared.
Right.
That's a good problem to have.
So, I mean, I wanted to ask if you ever found it difficult to make a living with acting.
Oh, I was a single mom. So it was like, which is why I decided to do soaps, because I was just getting exhausted with, am I going to get another job? But there's a very famous story of Henry Fonda and James Stewart on a plane, thinking that they were flying back from location, saying that this was probably their last job. And of course, they went on to a million trillion things. But there's always that feeling, was that my last job? Or when is the next one? Or if it's not my last job, when is the next one coming?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it almost sounds like it takes a lot of nerve to pursue this, because it does. Because it's just like that, when is my next meal coming is what it sounds like to me. It's not a steady, 9 to 5 or anything like that. It must be horrendously stressful when it feels like work is slowing down.
Yeah, I mean, when we used to go into what was then pilot season, there was always the dread, because all the shows shut down so that they could shoot pilots. So unless you got a pilot, you're kind of like stuck for about 3 months. And then, you have rent to pay, you've got bills to pay, bills to take care of. So it's, it was stressful. I was really fortunate in that I did work a lot. Okay. So I was very fortunate, but there were times when I was like, oh my God. But we got through it.
Okay. So you never really struggled to find work? You had a really good agent who kept you working all the time, or?
Yeah, pretty much. I had an agent and a manager. And, I would hear about things too, and I would call them up and say, "What about such and such?" There's a wonderful actor. His name is Courtney Vance, I think. First name is Courtney. He's African-American. He's an incredible actor. He's gotten all kinds of awards. But I remember seeing his name in TV Guide all the time and calling my agent and saying, "What's up with this Courtney? Why didn't I go in for that part?" And then finally my agent said, "Brooke, Courtney is African-American male." It was like, oh, I know that.
You're like, just give me a chance. I could figure it out.
I could do it. Why aren't you telling me about these parts? Because it's a guy. Right. Relax. That's funny. It's a heck of a way to find out too. Like, TV Guide, hello. I see this guy's name all over the place.
Yeah. Well, most of the people that would be watching our show would probably know you from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And of course, you were in part 3 and part 4.
Right.
And of course, whenever they make the next one, you're going to be
I'll
back
be
to
there.
reprise your role as Elaine. We haven't spoken to a ton of people from this franchise. I'd say we've spoken to Ken Sagos,
Yeah.
Danny Hassel, which
Yep.
maybe you cross paths with on part 4.
Yeah.
And
Beatrice.
Beatrice, but she didn't come along till part 5. I don't
Yeah,
think.
she was part 5.
Yeah.
As far as franchise goes, that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. But yeah,
But,
we haven't. It's a franchise that, I mean, historically, I mean, top 3 franchises in horror history. You know, next to Friday the 13th and Halloween. So when you first got into it, did you ever think it was going to take off like it did?
No, this is, and I've told the story before because it was one of those major aha moments. I didn't want to do a horror movie. I thought, I don't want somebody in a dark theater to say, "Hey, that looks like a good idea. I think I'll go chop on people." So I didn't want to have that kind of karmic debt. So I kept turning them down, and my agent, bless her heart, talked me into it. So, and I hadn't seen any of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, so I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know about Freddy. I didn't know about anything. So my first day on the set, no, I guess it wasn't my first day. It was like maybe third day on the set. I was sitting in my chair, just waiting to do my scene, and I noticed there was a lot of hubbub in the corner of the stage. And I thought, I wonder what that's about. So turns out, and I've told this story before, but it was like such an incredible moment. Someone had broken into the studio and stole Freddie's sweater. And I'm sitting in my chair thinking to myself, if someone is willing to risk jail time, because that's a serious thing to do. I mean, and he had oodles of sweaters, so it wasn't like anybody was going, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?"
Yeah.
But if somebody's willing to risk that, then I'm into something really big. This is really important. And it's paid off over and over and over again.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that I guess that lends directly to you talking about going to conventions and closing the circle with your fans, and finding how much all of that has meant to them. And that's really cool. What would you say was the most challenging part of working on the Elm Street films?
Wow, I don't know. I guess doing the prosthetics, although I was pretty good. They usually put straws in your nose, and they keep talking to you. So because I had to do my head. So I guess it just technical stuff. But I really enjoyed it, and I became, actually, I was Brooke Thesis' first acting teacher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when she was a kid, before she did the series that she did, and Tuesday and I became good friends, and I was Andros's agent. So we all, and with Toy Newkirk, her mom was my best friend. So we all have like this deep connection with each other over the years.
Like the 12 degrees of Brooke Bundy.
Yeah, right.
So was everybody like really professional on the sets? Like you could totally trust them?
Totally trust them.
Okay.
Robert Englund is an absolute prince. We did the scene because we had to do the scene where he decapitates me. And that was really complicated. And they wanted it all in one take, where he decapitates me and goes into Christian's room and rips up the pillows with his razors. So those were real razors. Wow. They weren't rubber. They were the real deal. So so he had to like swipe my head, and I had to pull my head back, and then he grabs the other head. So we did it all in one take. But he was just, I wasn't really cognizant of how complicated that scene was, but he really guided me through it and choreographed it. Oh, because I'm also clumsy. I do fall.
Sure.
So they put tape on the bottom of my shoes so my shoes wouldn't slide. And we rehearsed that scene over and over and over. I mean, it was really a choreographed scene. So we were able to do it in one take.
That's cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense. You'd have to practice that a lot, like a dance, just to make sure
was a dance.
Make sure it comes off exactly right, because that sounds like the stakes were high on that take.
Yeah, they were. But he's so good and so careful and so diligent, and really a generous actor. So I felt very protected doing a scene with him.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think having Heather Langenkamp come back too probably may have helped calm the set down, because she was in the first one and she was amazing in the third one. Did you notice anything with that? Like her coming back, just kind of, chilled everybody out. Like, hey, we got somebody from the first one. She's worked with Robert, everything like that. Anything like that ever come up with her?
No, it was just everybody was really happy to see her. And she's another one. She's just a darling, sweet, kind, informed, and complete professional. She's just, I'm so fond of her.
She's a great person.
Yeah.
Did you get to
we did a reading at the Whiskey A Go-Go. I don't know if you knew about that. It was a read. We actually used the original script for Nightmare 1, I think it was, but we added Elaine to it. I think we added a few people to it, but a bunch of us actors. It was for a fund to raise money for teenage suicide. And Heather was the one that was really ahead of that, and also Ira. And we raised a lot of money, but it was a lot of fun sitting around a table and just each of us. I got to read the role of Elaine, the nun, and Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh wow,
Zsa Gabor.
My best Hungarian accent.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Would you say that there's a lot of camaraderie on that set? I mean, did everyone get along and spend a lot of time together, like when you weren't shooting? I mean,
no, I mean some did. I think Lisa and Toy were roommates for a while. I didn't, but I'm sure that there's a lot of camaraderie offset. I'm just not a camaraderie kind of person.
Hey, that's okay.
It's not for everybody.
Once the job is done, I'm out of here.
Yeah, you like your space and your privacy. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can identify with that.
We went to what was it, Clint? Where they had the reunion with all of them. Was that Monster Mania?
Oh yeah.
That was.
Was it Monster Mania? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
Oaks. Yeah, was that a Monster Mania? I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a picture of everybody together. They did it was like a reunion photo.
Yeah.
And it was you could tell that you guys had something special on set, because we had spoken with Ken on the show, and he pretty much echoed what you said. Everybody got along, everybody was professional, everybody knew what they were doing. And they brought you guys back for a little bit in part 4. So I mean, part 3 we've already said. I mean, it's like our top Nightmare on Elm Street, just because it felt more solid than any other one that came out, probably other than the first one. But it was just so well put together, and the cast was great, and it just felt very solid. And you probably get that a lot when you go to conventions. I'm sure that gets told you a lot.
Yeah, it does. And you can tell, because we all sit at the same table, you can tell the kind of camaraderie there between us. We look at each other's pictures. Oh my God, that's beautiful. You look so gorgeous there. You're such a wonderful actress or actor. We're really so fond of each other. It's really warm. I think that's probably the best word.
I'd say so, yeah.
Together, it's really warm. And when we get together after, when the convention is closed that night, we'll go out, we'll have a couple of drinks, we'll have dinner, and laugh and talk and have a good time.
Good. That means a lot to us hearing that, because like you said, when you get done with the job, it's a job. You move on, but to go to a convention and then afterwards hang out, I mean, that's pretty cool, because I mean, you don't get to see those guys every day.
No. So, and Lisa lives in Vegas. Toy is she's more toward Venice. They're scattered all around. So to have like a kind of a get together, it becomes like problematic.
Yeah.
So when we're all together in the same hotel, it's really a lot of fun.
It sounds like it would be.
It's party time.
Yeah.
So when we spoke to Tiffany, she had put a spark of an idea in my head of a couple of questions that she said that she would like to ask you. And I figured, well, since she hadn't done that yet and we hadn't heard the answers, maybe I would ask you also.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite character throughout your career that you've played? Like just one that really sticks out in your mind that you would say was your favorite?
I think Second Lady. It was because it really was. It took him so much history about this particular human being. It was really, really a wonderful experience. I also played someone who was emotionally challenged, and that was fun. That was on a show called Judd for the Defense, which was like really an old show. Oh. But what I did was I killed my boyfriend, and because he said kill me, and I killed him.
Okay.
So, okay. Asking you shall receive.
Just giving him what he wanted, I guess.
So I remember going to a play yard and watching children, because children are very literal, and just watching them play with each other, and really doing my homework for it. So it was a really good role, very challenging role.
That brings up an interesting question too. I mean, do you find yourself typically immersing in a character and doing research like that with just about every project?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had to play a doctor. Something I had, because of General Hospital, I had a doctor's coat when I was a nurse, but that's okay too. Anyway, so I had, and I did have a stethoscope because my dog had heart problems. So I put on my white doctor's coat and my stethoscope and went over to Cedars-Sinai Hospital and just walked around. And it was that was the time you could do that. No one asked me any questions. I just walked around.
Yeah, now you'd be scared to do something like that. They think that you were impersonating a doctor. Oh, wow.
Just tell everybody you stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah. And that's all the credentials you need.
Exactly.
Yeah. Since you really like the character that you did in Second Lady, would you also call that your favorite project, or would you draw a distinction there? Your favorite character in that, but you had a favorite project.
I think I really enjoyed Fire Creek. That was an incredible experience, working with Henry Fonda and James Stewart. I mean, that was like amazing. So it was, I would just watch them act. It was just, and James Stewart was absolutely, I don't know, there are no words for him.
Yeah.
There are absolutely no words for him. He was just, in a category completely by himself.
Right.
Wonderful person.
Yeah. I've heard that before. I mean, but
he's
not directly from anybody who met him.
No, right.
Oh geez, I had it right there and I lost it. That happens. So you said that you left acting when you were in a good place and you felt proud of your body of work, and you don't really have any regrets for the most part. Was there anything that was regrettable that you maybe think, if I had to do it again, I wouldn't take that role?
Oh yeah. I mean, I just cringe time when I think about something. Somebody will say, "Oh, I saw you on whatever show," and I go, no, it's still running on something. So a Mannix that I did I was just terrible. Anyway, and the director didn't stop me. He didn't say, "Brooke, that's not going to work." But anyway, so there's that. There were a couple of moments on General Hospital that I cringe at. But they're over with very fast, and that doesn't come up to haunt me, at least. But Mannix is there haunting me.
Well, okay. Well, I figured there had to be at least one.
I'm sure if I get through the cringy part, I'm sure that there's more than one.
Okay. Yeah, probably. And I this isn't exactly a throwaway question. I mean, I'm sure you've done most of the things that you've wanted to do or set out to do during your career, but is there anybody that, if you could have worked with, that you didn't get a chance to work with, living or dead, Is there
Oh,
anybody
wow.
that you can think of that you would have loved to have worked with? I don't care if it's a director or an actor. I mean, anything. Just curious.
That's such a great question. I can't think, I mean, the list is infinitesimal. I mean, there's so many people I would have loved to have been with, that are just, like iconic, whether directors or, or actors or producers or writers or whatever, and missed the opportunity to, to work with them. So I don't know. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on.
Sure.
True.
Okay. That's fine. Too many to mention. We'll say that.
Yeah, there you go. Go with that. All right.
Yep.
So if you never, so did you ever have a chance to work with Tiffany? And if you, would you ever want to do that? Would that be could she get you doing something with her? Would you go back into film if she wanted to do something?
Yeah, probably, if she wanted me to.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be fun. But again, she lives in Canada and I don't. So
Right.
it's a little bit of a difficult situation to be able to do that.
Right.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yep. So
But what we do is, because she auditions up there, so she'll call and say, "Mom, what do you think about this scene? Can we just, run it together?" And she'll send me the sides and we run it together. And, she said, "What do you think?" And I'll tell her what I think, and she's always, I mean, she's just such a wonderful actress. So it's really, I'm really proud of her.
She's terrific. She was just amazing to talk to. It was fantastic. I didn't think we were going to have the conversation we had with her, and it was like, wow, and that's with almost all of our guests. Like, we think we're going to get something and we get something totally different. And I'm just like our conversation. I love it. It's like we get, you get the questions with Nightmare all the time. We try to get, questions that nobody else asks. We do our research and everything. So I love doing this. And I will probably say Tiffany's was probably one that just, I thought was going to go one way and it went completely different direction, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
What did you talk about with Tiff?
We talked about basically the path of her career, and then her basically leaving acting and getting into her professional photography.
Yeah.
And we talked about all sorts of things, because that's what we like to do is try to get a real human aspect. It's like, I don't want to just talk about one thing that you did. I kind of want to know a little bit about you when we're done. So just little tidbits that I heard. I mean, she had made a statement one time that she felt every woman should do a boudoir shoot in their life, and
okay.
I was like, well, why do you say that? What are your feelings on that? Is it a confidence thing? And she had a really good answer for that, and I had a lot of fun with that.
It was fun. I like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was just off the cuff stuff that we talked about, and that's what made it so great, was that it wasn't just your normal thing. Of course, we talked about Friday the 13th Part 5 for like 5 minutes, and then it was just we moved on.
We had to.
Yeah, it's like just like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. It's like we had to bring it up. It's like, but of course we're going to. But there's again, there's 60 years of a career to talk about, and just because we're a horror podcast doesn't mean we just talk about horror all day. I mean, it's amazing to see your career and what you've done, and I watched a lot of those shows growing up, so I still watch them. Nick at Night, they always show, and I'm like, let's watch the oldies. So it's just great to see that and to talk about something other than that. And like I said, she just brought a really good conversation to the table, and it was fun.
Good.
And you've been nothing short of fantastic yourself.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. Although I feel like
questions.
Oh, you're very welcome.
We try.
I feel like I didn't touch too much on who you are outside of acting, so I mean that does raise the question, when we're not business, what are we doing? I mean, do you have any hobbies that you love, things that you like to do, places you go, something you're passionate about?
Yeah, I'm a Buddhist.
Okay.
So I do a lot of activities in my Buddhist organization. I also work at the national headquarters, SGI national headquarters in Santa Monica, twice a week. So and do volunteer work So that's what I usually do. But I'm very committed to my Buddhist practices. Any of my friends will tell you, we're the largest peace organization in the world, which is what attracted me 36 years ago to it.
Sure.
So,
wow.
Yeah, my father, when I was a little girl, little, I remember him holding me. He had been in World War II. And I remember him holding me and just saying, Brookie, no one wins in a war. I don't care where the flag ends up. No one ever wins. He was in the Pacific. And he was a war correspondent, so he probably shouldn't have been there. I mean, he was an artist. And he did all of this, a lot of art for Associated Press. And it was called Gilbert Bundy's War, or At War with Gilbert Bundy, something like that. But every Sunday there would be like a big display in one of the newspapers in New York of his sketches of the young men and women that were involved in war. So when he came back, and he was really shell shocked. He was not okay.
Yeah.
So so that's, I just remember him saying that to me, and then years later when I found Buddhism, I went, and it's Japanese. So it was like, okay, this is what he's talking about, and this is what I have to get into.
Wow. That's very cool. Thank you
that's
for sharing that.
See, now I'm shocked. See, that's exactly what I was expecting. That's amazing. It's a good cause too. I mean, yeah, and you know, that's a really powerful statement too. I mean, yeah, nobody wins in a war ever.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins. I mean, look what's going on in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And they'll win. They'll get the Russians out, but they haven't won. They've lost,
right,
thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of young people and moms and children and dads and brothers and cousins. And it's just, it's like, stop already. So they've got to stop.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I chant about that every day, twice a day, Ukraine. And Zelensky, I'm so like blown away by Zelensky. I mean, here's this guy. Do you know he was the voice of Paddington Bear?
I heard that.
Ukraine. Yeah. So, I mean, to go from that to this incredible, brave, heroic person, where the world is just like, wow, he shows up in a t-shirt, a green t-shirt, and everyone's all stiff and, with their suits and everything. And he just talks from his heart.
Yep.
It's just amazing.
No, you're right.
It's got to stop. Got to stop.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Yeah,
Absolutely
definitely agree there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agree. Well, we don't want to, it's Sunday and it's noon. So we don't want to keep you on here too long. Want you to enjoy the rest of your weekend, obviously.
Okay. Thank you.
But it has been absolutely amazing. I'm like Clint said at the beginning, it's been surreal talking to you, because, we see you in the movies and we're like, I talked to her. And it's just been a pleasant experience. You've been fantastic back and forth with me. It's just been phenomenal. And I can't thank you enough. I really can't. And Clint, do your thing, how you close out. He does his little spiel.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically, I just like to put a finer point on where people can find information about you, where you exist on social media. I know that you're not accepting new projects, but so I won't ask you to say, hey, tell us what you got coming up in the future. So is it just Facebook and like checking IMDb? Is that how people can find things about you, or you got a website or something?
There's somebody showed me a picture of me on Days of Our Lives, and it was through some fan thing. God, I can't remember, but I guess maybe if you just put my name in, and with all the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful fans, I'm so bad about Facebook. I totally forget about it. And I should have said something about Valentine's Day. Totally forgot. So it's like, I'm so sorry. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that I forget about Facebook.
Yeah,
and Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And would you have something that you're passionate about that you would like people to follow? I know you mentioned the Buddhist temple and doing work within your own community. Is there anything that you'd like to promote that maybe other people could check out and support?
Yeah. First, we don't have temples. We practice in our own. That's okay. You didn't know. So we practice in our own homes. And we practice at community centers. It's called the SGI. and you can go to something called Buddhability, I think it is, and you can find out about us. But we're a wonderful organization, and we're in 192 countries. And again, our principal core is about world peace.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Everybody needs to.
You can't have a better message than that.
No, not at all, not at all.
Okay. Well, I thank you very much for hopping on here with us.
Oh,
It's
thank
absolutely
you.
been a pleasure to talk to you. And typically we just close it out with our taglines. Don, what do you want to say to the people?
Don't let the bad ones ruin a good time. Never. Brooke, again, I can't thank you enough for hopping on here. I really can't. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you through email, text, everything. You've been phenomenal, and I really can't thank you enough. I can't.
Well, what I'm going to do, because you've only talked to just a few of us from Nightmare, I'll pass it on to Toy and Tuesday and Lisa and and whoever else I can think of, and just see if they respond.
That'd be fantastic. I really appreciate that. We definitely do.
That's beautiful. I appreciate that very much.
Definitely. You enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we will talk again soon.
Thank you so much. This has really been fun.
It has been, absolutely.
Yeah.